Heat is not what you think it is. It's not summer sun on pavement or a day at the beach. Real heat warps metal. It cracks earth open. It turns lakes into fields of salt that glow like something from another planet. This is the Danakil Depression, the hottest place on Earth. Year-round average, 94 degrees Fahrenheit. Daily highs, 120 degrees and climbing. But temperature is just the beginning. This is a place where the ground bleeds sulfur, where acid pools shimmer in colors that shouldn't exist in nature, where the earth itself exhales poison. Welcome to Hell's waiting room. The Danakil Depression sits at the junction of three tectonic plates in northeastern Ethiopia. It's one of the lowest points on Earth, 410 feet below sea level. A crack in the planet's skin where the African continent is literally tearing itself apart. The landscape looks computer-generated, impossible, like someone poured neon paint across a desert and set it on fire. But this is real. At Dallol, the ground erupts in electric yellows and acid greens. Sulfur vents bubble and hiss. Hot springs glow orange and red. The rock formations twist into alien spires that look carved by a deranged artist. The colors come from minerals. Sulfur burns yellow. Iron oxide bleeds red and orange. Copper salts shimmer green and blue. Salt deposits create white crusts that crack like dried skin. When the sun hits these pools at the right angle, they ignite. Pure color, radioactive brightness, the kind of landscape photographers chase for years and most never find. But beauty here comes with a price. The air is toxic. Sulfur dioxide and chlorine gas rise from the vents. Breathing too deeply can sear your lungs. The ground itself is fragile, a thin crust over boiling acid. One wrong step and you fall through into water, heated to 230 degrees Fahrenheit. The pH levels here drop below zero, more acidic than battery acid. Nothing should survive this. Yet life persists. Extremophile bacteria thrive in the hot springs. They're among the most resilient organisms on Earth, feeding on sulfur and living in water hot enough to cook meat. Scientists study them because if life can exist here, it can exist anywhere. Mars, Europa, the moons of Saturn. Danakil is a laboratory for alien biology, right here on Earth. But the depression holds more than acid pools and bacterial colonies. Erta Ale rises from the northern end like a wound in the desert, an active shield volcano. Its name means smoking mountain in the Afar language. At the summit, one of only 8 permanent lava lakes on Earth churns and bubbles, glowing red in the darkness. The lava lake sits in a crater 200 feet wide. It never stops moving. Convection currents pull cooled crust down into the magma below, while fresh lava surges to the surface. At night, the glow is visible for miles. The entire crater pulses like a heartbeat. Standing at the rim, you feel the heat radiating up in waves. The air shimmers. The ground trembles. You're standing on a thin shell of rock with molten earth just beneath your feet. The lake occasionally overflows, sending lava cascading down the mountain's flanks. In 2017, an eruption killed several people visiting the crater. In this place, The Earth gives no warnings. But for the Afar people, this volcanic land is home. They're one of the toughest groups of people on Earth. Nomadic pastoralists who have lived in the Danakil for millennia, herding goats and camels across a landscape that kills most visitors in days. Their survival depends on understanding this environment completely. They know where water can be found, buried beneath salt flats. They know which routes avoid the worst of the toxic vents. They know when the earth is about to shift and crack. And they know salt. For centuries, the Afar have mined salt from the depression. They cut massive blocks from the white flats, each weighing 15 pounds. The blocks are loaded onto camels, sometimes hundreds at a time, and walked across the desert to markets in the highlands. It's one of the oldest trade routes in the world. Salt for gold, salt for survival. The work is brutal. Men spend days in the depression, hammering at the crust under sun that never relents. No shade, no breeze, just heat reflecting off endless white. They wrap their heads in cloth to keep the sun off. They drink sparingly from leather skins because water is weight and weight slows the camels. They sleep on the salt flats where the temperature barely drops at night. Salt mining here is not a job. It's a test of endurance passed down through generations. At Lake Asale, the salt flats stretch to the horizon, white, perfectly flat, blinding under the African sun. But walk out onto it, and you realize it's not solid. The surface is a thin crust over brine. In places, the salt is only inches thick. Beneath it, water so salty it's denser than the Dead Sea. The lake is fed by hot springs, keeping it perpetually warm. Evaporation happens faster than rainfall can replenish it. What remains is a solution so saturated with minerals that salt crystallizes out of the water itself, building the flats layer by layer. When wind blows across the surface, it kicks up salt dust that stings like glass. The glare is so intense that sunglasses aren't optional. They're survival gear, and the heat never stops. Even in winter, daytime temperatures exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit. In summer, they climb past 120. The record high measured in Danakil, 145 degrees Fahrenheit. At that temperature, you can fry an egg on the ground. Skin burns in minutes. Dehydration happens faster than you can drink. There are no trees, no grass, no relief. Just salt, sulfur, and stone baked under a sun that feels closer than it should. But the earth here is not just hot, it's unstable. The Danakil Depression sits on the Afar Triple Junction, where the Arabian, Nubian, and Somali tectonic plates meet. The ground is literally being pulled apart. Over millions of years, the crack will widen. The Red Sea will flood in. And this desert will become an ocean floor. For now, it's a battlefield between crust and mantle. Earthquakes are common. The ground shifts without warning. Fissures open overnight, some wide enough to swallow a truck. In 2005, a volcanic eruption split the Earth for 35 miles, creating a rift visible from space. Scientists flock here to study it. Danakil is a window into Earth's violent past and its tectonic future. It's what the planet looked like 4 billion years ago, when continents were just forming. Walking through Danakil is walking backward through time. But it's not just the geology that draws researchers, it's the chemistry. The acid springs at Dallol contain compounds that don't exist anywhere else on Earth in such concentrations. Some of the minerals forming here are so rare, they don't have names yet. The colors themselves are chemical reactions happening in real time. Sulfur oxidizes yellow, iron rusts red, copper salts turn water turquoise and green. Algae, adapted to extreme acidity, adds streaks of orange and brown. The result is a palette that looks painted, not natural. Photographers call it the most difficult place on Earth to shoot. The light is too harsh, the air too shimmering with heat. Cameras malfunction, lenses warp, tripods sink into the soft crust. But those who succeed capture images that look like science fiction. Pools of acid glowing green, salt formations twisting like coral, steam rising from vents in columns of sulfurous yellow. The whole landscape bathed in colors that burn the eye. This is Earth at its most alien. And yet, even here, humans find beauty. The Afar see Danakil not as hell, but as provider. The salt feeds their families. The volcanic soil, when mixed with rain further north, grows hardy crops. The heat, though brutal, is predictable. They trust it more than they trust the changing world beyond the depression. Tourists come now, in small numbers. Guided expeditions that start before dawn to avoid the worst heat. They walk across the salt flats at sunrise when the light is softest. They camp near Erta Ale, watching the lava lake pulse through the night. But tourism here is not casual. It's pilgrimage to a place that should not be visited. A place that feels like punishment, but reveals beauty in its harshness. Because Danakil teaches something fundamental. That beauty doesn't require comfort. That life doesn't need gentleness to thrive. That the most extreme places on Earth are often the most honest. There's no pretense here, no facade. The Earth shows its raw mechanics: heat, pressure, chemistry, geology in motion. What you see is what exists. No filter, no mercy. At night, when the temperature finally drops below 100, the stars come out. The air is so dry and clear that the Milky Way looks close enough to touch. The horizon glows faintly red from Erta Ale. The salt flats reflect starlight like a mirror. For a moment, Danakil is almost peaceful, but dawn comes fast. The sun rises like a hammer. Within minutes, the heat rebuilds. The air shimmers. The colors ignite again. And Danakil returns to what it is. The hottest place on Earth. The most unforgiving. The most chemically violent. A landscape that glows neon. Not because it's beautiful, but because it's alive. Alive with reactions. Alive with movement. Alive with the slow, grinding work of a planet reshaping itself. Heat here is not the enemy, it's the sculptor. The Afar elder stands at the edge of the salt flat. He's been mining here for 50 years. His skin is dark and weathered. His eyes sharp despite the constant glare. He doesn't flinch in the heat. Doesn't complain, doesn't rush. He cuts the salt with practiced precision, loads it onto the camel, ties it down, one block at a time. This is not suffering, this is work, this is life. And in the Danakil Depression, life does not apologize for being hard. It simply is. Hard, hot, honest, and impossibly, unbearably beautiful.